Hello, everybody. I am here today with my beautiful friend, Ashley, magical friend Ashley, and we are going to be talking about all things channeling and working with spirit. It's a Holy Spirit activation. Okay.
That's right.
Before we get into that, I have a question for you. So, if you were going to drop into some other type of magical fantasy world, because we have one here as well, but somewhere else, let's say Star Wars, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Pokemon, Mario World, wherever, where would that be for you?
Probably Harry Potter for sure.
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Lord of the Rings. I'm more of a mystic.
Mhm.
So yeah. I mean, I love my galactic, timelines as well. But I always see myself in forests.
Yeah, like earthy magic.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I made a video earlier actually, and I was explaining that we love the cosmos and the ethers and the galaxy and all this, but we're also Mother Earth's like children,
Mm-hmm.
and we have earth magic, and the only way that you can fill that up within yourself is to be outside. You
Yep.
can't be indoors all the time. You want to get into shamanism, you need to be outside.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Speaking of like plants, what's going on with that plant behind your head that's upside down?
These are my alien plants.
Okay.
They're air plants.
Oh,
Yeah.
air plants. Okay, yeah,
Uh,
I've seen those before. Those baffle me. Like, how does
yeah.
that even work?
Yeah. So I've got two. I got to put the shell in the other one, but I just finished watering them. So I got them hanging.
That's very cute. Very cute. Okay, so what does channeling mean to you?
So, in terms of channeling, I feel like it is the intuitive flow that we are in when we are not fighting resistance, when we are in surrender. So, channeling to me is just stating that we are in that natural rhythm within the body. And we all do it all the time, anyways. It's just having the awareness around it. So bringing in intuitive information and trusting that flow of that information and that data.
Where do you think that the intuitive information is coming from?
Our higher consciousness, God, source, creator, universe, oversoul, higher self, just higher consciousness. Everything is conscious. Every living thing is conscious. So you can tap into all of that consciousness. So it just depends on where you're pulling that data from as to where it's coming from.
Yeah. I was giving a reading to somebody the other day, and one of her spiritual gifts is she can make golems out of rocks in the ethers to help her with different things. And I was explaining you could really meditate with anything. It doesn't even have to be what we would consider a living, breathing animal or plant. Like a rock is still alive. But I said it can even go past that. You can meditate with a computer, you can meditate with a book. It can literally be anything, and you can get, like you were saying, those higher insights from it. What do you think about that?
Same goes for the tools that you use. No matter if it's smoke, no matter if it's spritz, no matter if it's a crystal, it's the tool doesn't matter as much as the power that you're using behind it. And the same goes for meditation. You can gain data from anything. That is one of the, spiritual gifts is clairtangency, psychometry, right? So the ability to touch anything and be taken back through that historical data to the original blueprint of it. So yeah, you can meditate on anything that's got a frequency, anything that's got a vibration to it.
Which is anything. Right?
Yep, which is
Yeah.
anything. Yep.
I was telling people too that when you are utilizing these tools, that you can use it almost like a filter lens to channel through for yourself or for other people. So let's say that I want to work with a crystal. This is how it lights. So I can ask what's going on with my or somebody else's energy field through the perceptual lens of the how light itself, or what the how light's perspective is on those different questions that I'm asking, or heal
Mm-hmm.
through it. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Asking, the consciousness of the crystals where they're most and best utilized for the body, for the mind, for the field. They will speak in conscious, connection with you and let you know where it's going to be best utilized for you, regardless of the data or information that's already on the internet. because that's all through other human filters. So, and other human perceptions. So going straight into the consciousness of whatever it is that you're working with and asking where it's going to be most useful for you is going to be the way to go. Yeah.
Yeah, when you were talking, that just had me think too about how social media has its own consciousness. And if you are some type of business owner, let's say with an energy healer, and the way that you navigate Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and Facebook are so different from one another, I wonder if we could, I mean, not wonder, but we could, but going in meditation and asking the consciousness of that social media how best your videos or whatever type of content you put out will be received.
That's a really good idea.
Like I was getting that ping when you were talking. So yes. So for anybody or us, I'm gonna play around with that.
Yep, we're gonna
Yeah.
tag into that.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, how did you get into channeling? But I love what you texted me earlier. You were like, you don't really get into channeling. And I was like, oh, love, can you talk about that?
Yeah. You don't really get into channeling. You're always channeling. You were always channeling. It's just your awareness was not on the fact that you were channeling. So no one falls into it. It just becomes more of an awareness that you're already doing it. When we're not aware of it, we are already acting on those intuitive moments, not as frequent, not as much as we should with the connection we should, but we're still being guided intuitively by way of our channels. So for me, I grew up very open, and then through my teen years started closing myself off, had a lot of trauma. Then that went through my 20s. Then my 30s, I reopened myself to past loved ones, which was really the gateway for me because I had always felt spirit around. I had always interacted with them. And that was the gateway for me to open myself back up in the knowing and understanding that I was already channeling the data, just didn't know it. So that's how I got into the remembrance of a channel consciousness.
Absolutely. Everybody already knows how to do it instinctually, but then we forget.
Mm-hmm.
or we block it out within ourselves, which I have done as well. And sometimes my channeling abilities are stronger than others. And that can also be on a year-to-year basis or a day-to-day basis, depending on what I'm going through in the human realms.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Our human existence is really going to determine, how clear our channel is, how strong our channel is, and what type of information we bring forward with it. So yeah, agree.
What do you think? I don't even like to use the terms blocks because you can program yourself negatively that way. But what do you think is some common filter lenses that causes people either to forget or is clogging up their channels?
Fear, for sure. Fear is the number one. Most of us as children have had experiences where we've watched horror movies or we've had horrific, acts placed on us or that we've seen in our childhood under many different guises of many different vibrations where, it's by way of a form of abuse, by way of neglect, by way of both, or by fears, by way of one of our parents or shows that we watched and endured. Having other spiritual experiences. I had spiritual experiences when I was younger. So for me, I can remember those very distinctly. Mine was turned off by way of physical trauma. So physical trauma will also induce it. I got sucked into a future moment. The last time it happened, I was 12 and I got sucked into a future moment. I watched myself. And it had happened so many times before, but this last time I had watched myself cut my finger off with a knife. Yes. And I got sucked into it. I came back. I was opening a cereal box for my little brother and I just had it and I was like this. And I did it anyways, and there goes the finger. And so after that, I did not get sucked into any more timelines. had no more steps
Oh.
into the future. Yeah, so mine was shut down after that experience.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see how that'd be really scary, like with the premonitions and things and not knowing how to traverse that and be like, you know what, no thanks. I don't need to think beforehand
Mhm.
what's gonna happen, especially if I don't know how to prevent it from happening. I
All I
didn't
had to do was not do it. Like all I
right.
had to do was not do it, and I did it.
I didn't know that your finger got cut off.
Yes, sliced it completely off, and it was after I had already seen it happen. I knew it was going to happen, and this was other occasions that this had happened numerous times in my past, and I would still make the choice to go through with it. The last one was my finger. Yep.
Wow. Yeah. So, I'm going to see it, it's going to happen anyway, and it's going to be negative. I don't want to live through it twice. So,
I wasn't making different choices.
right. I've never really like heard of something like that before, as far
Yeah.
as like the pre timeline jump and then not doing it and then shutting your gifts off that way. That's very interesting. I wonder if anybody is watching this and if that's happened to you, I would love to hear it in the comments. Okay.
Mhm.
So what do you think is a way for people to work through that fear around channeling? Maybe not that specifically, but just in general.
Yeah. Like I said, fears and abuse are really going to be really big. Abandonment is one that I see very regularly, but fears and abuse are usually the ones that are the biggest culprits. And some of the best ways, if you're going to do your shadow work or your inner child healing by way of self, is understanding the laws of polarity and the scales of vibrations. That's going to be your biggest catalysts for change, is understanding where one sits and where you need the opposite to come in for that. So if you have a fear of seeing it, infusing the opposite within the body, whether that's through journaling and release, whether that's through writing it down and doing a burn release, those are really powerful. I love burn releases. Whether that is sitting in therapy and choosing to alchemize the body in your talk therapy by knowing this is what I'm dealing with and this is where I know it should be, and making the choice, the conscious, aware decision to state that you're releasing this state of vibration to replace it with this state of vibration. That's a great, tool as well. Journaling out, sitting with other practitioners, having a mirror, having that reflection. Those are all very good ways of working through it, because fear is it is the biggest catalyst for the filters you will see out of.
I would even say too, to be really mindful about what type of channelers and practitioners that you're also listening to and learning from, because there's a lot of fear mongering within spirituality and not teaching us how to be sovereign beings and that these things can't really hurt you. It's your own fear matrices. And so when I first started learning about it, that was spooky scary, because it's like, oh, the demons, the dark entities,
Yes.
all this different stuff, right? So that was inducing a lot of fear. I learned to only attune myself to listen to others that talk about, girl, nothing can touch you. Okay.
Yeah.
Like that's the truth. That's the reality, right? So just be mindful too when you're listening to others talk about those things about somebody that's teaching you, like, hey, you're a sovereign being, work on your boundaries, and nothing can do anything to you.
Right, right. And it's also a matter of understanding that you're going to pick up, if you are listening to people, depending on where you're getting the information, what information you're choosing to take in, you are going to build a filter around that information.
Mhm.
You're going to begin to perceive the way in which the information you are being led to believe is of truth. You're going to perceive it that way.
Mhm.
So be very cautious of the filters you're exchanging, where yours is and where you're going. Now, are there dark beings? Absolutely.
Sure.
Will they show up for you for lessons? Absolutely. But they are there to push you back into your power, because the only way that it's perceived as fear, hurt, harm, pain is when we are in a fear matrix, when we are in the paradigm of fear, or we are being faced with our shadow. And you will have to watch for the practitioners that tell you, oh, you have an evil attachment. No, no, it's your shadow, friend.
Yeah,
It's
it's your shadow.
welcome.
It's your shadow aspects. Is what that
It's
actually
you.
is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like empaths and narcissists, or people that are really hypersensitive, and those narcissists are there to teach you how to be strong. Like,
Mhm.
you have to learn how to hold boundaries with them. Otherwise, people are gonna be walking all over you forever. Same thing with spirits. Like, they're there, sure, but if you don't let them do those things to you, then they won't. So you got to strengthen your fortitude within. But just like you were saying, it's not necessarily these things that are attaching to you for the
Correct.
long term. Okay.
Right. Correct.
Yes. So I love that you were talking about the trauma kind of aspects of these things, because when I'm talking to people about getting into channeling, it is difficult for you to feel safe doing etheric travels if you do not even feel safe in your body.
Yep.
And that is not for your own doing. Lots of people go through physical abuse and all these different things that have nothing to do with you necessarily, but you really got to heal and work on that. What's the word I'm looking for? Those triggers within yourself, in order to feel safe enough to go do these type of things that you can't even see, that you can't even hold on to.
Mhm.
When I was really having a lot of trauma that was unhealed in my body, I felt scared just to be around people, much
Mhm.
less these things that are not able to see. Right. So I had to work on that stuff first in order to become a clear channel.
Right. But even more so, even if, let's just say that you took care of that, if you're still not present in the body because you were choosing to stay in your uppers,
Mhm.
because you've figured out you can channel, congratulations. I love that for you. I think that's beautiful and it's amazing and it's magical, as it should be. But if you were choosing to stay in your uppers and escape the physical world, you will also have that same resistance in the energy that you're channeling. You will have that same
Facts.
resistance in the physical world.
Facts. And that's been me too, where I was like, oh, fun, cosmos ethers just up here all the time, these upper chakras. And then your human life is going awry.
Yep. Goes
Right?
to shit in the handbag.
We are completely disassociated from the human experience in the human realms. And your human will start to fight you on that and
Yep.
say, like, hey, I'm the most important thing here during this incarnation. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. The human experience is first and foremost ahead of anything else.
Yeah. Facts.
Yep.
Yeah. Heal your human and then get up into your multidimensional.
100%.
But then come back down and work with your human.
That's right.
Right. Yes.
Create, bring it back down,
Mhm.
create what you are establishing in the dimensions here in this reality.
That's a fact, because when I'm doing readings, I see like advanced technology, and you do the same. See advanced technologies and starseed lineages and all these magical
Mhm.
creatures and beings and all this stuff. Every single time I share that information, it's how to integrate that here on the human
Yeah,
plane. What are we doing with it? Yeah, it's great to know about this. What are
exactly.
you doing with this stuff?
Hmm.
Yes. Make this world a better place. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest takeaway is it's great that we have access to all of that data and information, but do not get stuck in past incarnations of yourself. Do not get stuck in the labels that you once were. You are you right now, and you
Hmm.
chose this right now. So knowing this, how do you bring that forward to create right now?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of things that we channel, I would love to hear what you channel and what that feels like for you.
So as far as what I channel all consciousness and echo consciousness. So I channel the trauma. I channel the lower, denser energy of, whatever is going on with them. I channel the mind. I channel the etherics. anything that is conscious, I channel. I don't really have a box to put it in because it's all available to us. So that's from, the rock or the petrified wood to, the crystallized sound bowl, to the tree, to the other planetary systems and universes. And it goes on and on and on because it's infinite. There's so many different possibilities of what you can channel. And it's just the change of a dial as to where you're tuning in. So I would say that, I channel all that is conscious. Yeah.
Just everything.
Just everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
All that is available. And everyone can. What it feels like for me is embodiment. I'm very clairtangent. So I balance my system when I get started in my flow in my channel, and I immediately get embodied. I can feel the energy engulf around me because the clairtangency is a physical manifestation of energy outside of me. So I feel whenever I sit fully in my body, and I feel once my higher self engulfs and my guides step to the sides of me. So I'm feeling all of it. So whenever I'm channeling, it is very in the moment, very quick, but it is an engulfing of energy around me that I pull data from in every direction, and just continue to let that information play back to me. I can see it, hear it, feel it, know it. I try to use as many clairs as I can in balance with one another whenever I do it. So that it feels very clear, very open.
It is a really good piece of advice that, yeah, you might be really proficient in some channeling abilities, but it's very beneficial to study and practice in all of them because you have
Yes.
those abilities. Everybody has those abilities within them. Just some people are born with more remembrances or what have you. But
Right.
if you can have a balanced system, it makes it a lot easier to channel in the first place.
100%. And listen, it's great. You got somebody that's like, oh, I'm a great, seer, or I'm a great clairaudient, individual. That's fabulous. But we are supposed to be balancing our system. And with that balance, we are supposed to be balancing all clairs, all abilities within the system that the system holds. We will go through stages where when we become proficient in one, there's obviously no cap. We can continue to grow and learn and change and adapt. But when we become proficient in one, we should be working through our list to come online and be just as proficient in the next, and in the next, and in the next. Because that's a balanced system where we are pulling data even quicker, even faster, and having all of that easily and readily available to us by way of all gifts we hold.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, I'm really good at my root chakra. Okay, well, what about these other ones?
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Right.
What about your other ones?
Right. Okay, so I have like a couple different questions I was trying to keep in my head while you were talking. Okay, so first of all, you can see spirits outside of you, right? Because a lot of people don't do that yet, right? You can
Perceive outside the
see
eye.
it in their mind's eye and your imaginative etheric scapes in here, but I think it's so interesting that you see them outside of yourself.
Yes, I do not have inner dialogue. And I do not, I'm very much, Ty and I are we're very much the same. We do not have inner dialogues. So we don't perceive the same way. And I see everything outside. All energy that is manifested by way of my clairtangency, meaning I will walk into my house and I will know if someone's standing in front of me, and I will get bopped to move because it's a physical manifestation of energy. Yep. And the same is true for my sight. When I tune in, I'll see where they're standing in the house by way of my physical eyes, not my mind's eye.
Do you feel like that? Well, I guess you wouldn't know otherwise, but I was gonna say, do you think that's easier for you to be able to like see and interact with them in the physical plane, whereas somebody might else do it in their mind's eye? But how would you know? Because you don't do it the other way.
Right.
Okay,
I'm
so
not
never mind.
sure.
Okay, disregard that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never experienced it the other way. I mean, I did when I was younger. Um, I used to see a lot when I was younger, but ever since I've been in my adulthood, it's always been my physical eyes.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
fascinating. If y'all are out there, y'all see spirits too, connect with Ashley, okay? She's the one to go talk to you about that. Okay.
Yeah.
uh, earlier you said something when I asked you what it is that you channel, and I think you said nanotech or something like that. Something tech. Or maybe I misheard.
You must have misheard.
Okay, I was like, what the heck is that? Nanotech.
Hmm.
It's some other word. Okay. So what is your biggest challenge that you have faced with channeling?
Uh, Neutrality, staying in neutrality. And that comes by way of healing, which I think is, again, the most important point in all of this is to make sure that you take a healing step as you take a learning step, as you integrate part of your channel, integrate part of yourself, because the goal is to run through the state of neutrality into unity. So when we're going through these phases, allowing no judgment whatsoever, no bias whatsoever, and channeling the energy as clearly with clarity as possible means that we cannot have a charge in one direction or another. Meaning the only way you're going to get there is through your healing. If you have a charge to emotions that come up in your body, then that is an indicator and that's a prompt to do healing there, because there's a charge for that within yourself. So my biggest challenge has been to remain in neutrality and move through that, because I'm human and
Mm,
we have those moments where, judgment will come in, or I will ask questions and doubt myself, things of that nature. And I know that there's still a charge there. So it's going into that charge, neutralizing it, and staying in the path towards unity. Yeah.
yeah, because if you do have a big emotional charge, it's going to change the advice or the insight or the download that you get,
Yeah.
because that's more having to do with your human than your higher awarenesses. And like you said, it's an indicator like, hey, we still have trauma or limiting beliefs or something like that. And as a channeler who channels for other people and clients, if I have something that is deeply wounded or unhealed within me, I cannot show up for that other person in the best capacity because I have biases and I'm
Right.
projecting my unhealed trauma onto that circumstance and situation. Now, has working with other people helped me clear those things out and find neutrality within? Yes, but you really do, like you're saying, have to make a conscientious choice. If I feel that emotional charge, especially when I'm helping other people, I've got to do my own shadow work and clear those things out so I'm not leading them astray.
Right. Yes. And I think that is such a huge takeaway, again, for the people that they choose to follow, for the teachings that they choose to follow, for the information that they choose to take in, because the goal is to come into a unified one state at the end of the day. So watch the negative connotation of information that you're taking in that has a charge to it, and you can't stay positive all the time either. We're supposed to be observe it without having reactionary moments to those things. So I think that's huge.
Yeah, or when you do hear other people talking about things, then you have an emotional charge to it as well. If it's something that you disagree with, is
Yep.
why am I having that emotional reaction? Why can I not just hear somebody else's thoughts and opinions and say, okay, that's not for me? Why
Yep.
are we having this big reaction to that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, what is your most fun thing that comes through for channeling for you? or the most fun
I
aspect of
I love the galactic
it?
heritage. Like
Okay.
that's my favorite. I love soul remembrances. I love coding for galactic heritage. I think that's my most favorite is getting to see where people come from and their galactic families that I enjoy. Yeah.
What point did you or were you at when you started getting into that for yourself, like finding your galactic heritages and what have you?
I was about a year and a half in. I was about a year and a half in whenever I started to really deep dive
Mhm.
into my own experiences. Yeah.
What would you recommend for somebody that was trying to figure out those bits of information? Obviously, they could come see you because that's what you
Hmm.
specialize in. If they wanted to do that on their own, too, like what would you recommend to kind of bring forth more of that information?
Set intentions for it, first of all. But secondly, y'all are going to get tired of hearing this. The more, the more that you heal, the cleaner your filters are going to be when you're pulling in that information. Because if you pull in that information and you're getting only a fragment of what you're trying to pull in, and you're shown, and this is just an example, you're shown that you were a high priestess during Egypt's time and they're calling you Isis. That's great. But that's only a fractal of the information that may be in the full story that you're not able to see,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
you may have been a helper, you may have been a sister, you may have been her. But in order to gain that full clarity and wisdom of the information that you're pulling down, you want to make sure that you're as clear as you can be to really grab the full story instead of just the storyline. So I would point people back to, if you want to grab onto that, one, open your light language. Start utilizing your light language to start connecting to the galactic realms, connecting to the planetary systems. To utilize that to start doing self-healing. If you don't already, start utilizing, the tools that I stated in the beginning to start going through that. And then you're going to set your intentions to pull in only your soul's data, because you have specificity matters so much. If you sit down and you say, I want to know about, where I'm from. Well, that's not completely specific in the terms of the multiverse. So you're going to pull a lot of timelines and
Yeah.
you may get 12 different stories. So you may see yourself as an Egyptian in this very small story time, and then it's going to shift, and then you're going to see a part of England, and then it's going to shift, and then you're going to see why, because those are all part of where you came from.
Mm-hmm.
Show me my home. Okay, well, your home when?
Yeah,
When?
where, and
Right.
why, and why?
Why?
Yeah.
Yes.
What are you gonna do with it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So biggest tip is to be so specific, because that's the data you're looking for. Otherwise, you're going to get overwhelmed. You are going to get confused, and you are going to find yourself going, oh, well, I've got this piece of the storyline, but I don't know the rest. And I don't know how to get to it because I don't know how to be specific.
Yeah,
Not
you
asking
really
the
do
right
need
question.
parameters. You need
Yes.
parameters because otherwise you just out here sitting there in the ethers, like waiting for something to happen, or like you said, getting
Yep.
fragmentations or learning things that are not going to help you in this incarnation in any
Literally
capacity.
nothing.
And you're focusing on all this stuff over here when you need to know about all this stuff over here.
Yep.
That could be
Exactly.
helping you, right? Or these other
Yeah.
incarnations that could be helping you heal or mentor or have
Yeah.
karmic rollover lessons that you need to know about. There's so much, but you have to actively seek those things with specificity. How, what, why questions. What are we going to do with that information? Are you actually going to implement the medicine?
Right. Yes. It's so important. And I think it's lost on a lot of people when they first start, because they don't understand the gravity of what they're asking. They don't see the complexity of just one statement when it should be broke down. It should be so specific to where that is exactly the information that you're pulling in, not, 10,000 other timelines with fragmented pieces,
Mm-hmm.
because that will happen. It will.
Sure. And there might be fundamental things that you are missing from that, what seems to be a positive or negative timeline.
Right.
Right. I think what you were saying about the fragmentations is really important too, because, when I first started, and I'm sure when you first started, you get fragmentations until you learn how to become a clear channel and how to develop your psychic abilities, all the different ones. Okay. And healing and feeling safe and all the stuff we've been saying. You and well, I can't speak for you, but I would assume you and I are at a place now where if I wanted to go in and meet with a different timeline version of myself or somebody else's timeline, I could write an entire autobiography from the time they were born until the time that they passed in that timeline with a complete streamline of their entire life.
Mhm.
The way that I got there was doing all that stuff that we were talking about.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Not getting just a small storyline, it's getting
Yeah.
all data. Yeah.
Yeah, but you got to clear your channels with the things that
Yes.
we're saying. Yeah, and go in with specific. When I go to find that information, let's say I was going to go write an autobiography, it would be, who is this person specifically? Why am I trying to contact them? What am I trying to get out of this? How does this apply to their incarnation or my incarnation? Like, you've got to have, like, you would be interviewing a person here on this 3D plane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Do you have any other kind of generalized tips for people on channeling that might be that maybe like the more beginner, and then maybe somebody that's been in it for a while? What would kind of help tip them further into working deeper in the Akashic records?
So in terms of beginner channelers, they need to just learn to trust the channel in general and not focus so much on going, I don't know if this is me or my ego. They're not going to know the difference when they're first starting out. That's just the bottom line. They're not. The only way to tell the difference is if something's coming through in a negative lens, out of fear, out of trauma, out of a response that's not helpful, then yes, we can say with surety that that is ego.
Hmm.
Outside of that, you're not going to know. So learning to trust everything that you're channeling and then go back behind yourself and go, okay, that wasn't very positive. That's got to be me. That's got to be ego. That's got to be my fear. That's got to be this. Go back, check. That shows you where, you're having moments of fog that you need to clear up in your system, and it's showing you where you are otherwise starting to channel that information and get clarity. So just building that trust to write it all out and go, okay, this is what I've got. So building that trust within yourself to allow it to just come through, regardless of if it is 70% your ego and 30% your channel, and then it moves 50-50, and then it moves 30-70. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So have a starting point to just allow yourself to bring in the information regardless, and then check through it. That's it.
I think that's excellent advice. Sometimes when I'm talking to people about channeling, they say, well, I don't know, it's my higher self or my inner children or
Right.
different incarnation spirits. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
You need to trust the one voice first and
That's
then
right.
start differentiating. And if it feels like, okay, your ego is going to try and beat you down and pulverize you into the dirt and tell you all the things that are wrong with you and why you should be shameful and guilty and
Correct.
all this stuff, that's not your higher self. That's not
No.
higher awareness. Higher awareness is good. They're going to tell you the truth.
Right.
They're going to do it in a way of constructive criticism sometimes, or in a way that is meant to uplift you and support you. Sometimes it's a hard truth, but it's never going to leave you feeling like you're a bad person or there's something wrong with you or you're broken. So that's what we need to differentiate first off. Is this constrictive or is this expansive? If the voice
Yes.
is expansive, it doesn't matter whom it is.
Who it is.
To you. Okay, because it's all different reflections of you anyway. All those spirit guides,
Yep.
all those different incarnations, the sun, the moon, the stars, the rocks, the trees, they're all you.
Yep.
Doesn't matter.
It
They're
really
all
doesn't.
different perspectives.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's another takeaway. Do not get so stuck on names. Do not get so stuck on labels. Really just allow yourself to flow without the constriction of labels and names and boxes. Our human likes to know those things, but that is a human construct. It does not matter where the information is coming from, so long as it is helpful, so long as it is expansive. So learning to just trust yourself to do it for a beginner is so important. So I wish I had done that more, myself.
Facts. Stop worrying about all these names.
Mm-hmm.
Because half the time people spirit guides be like, just tell them to call me Fred or Rachel,
Yeah.
because they're not gonna be able to pronounce my name in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
My guides have never given me names.
Yeah.
And every time that I would ask why, they told me that I was silly because it's not important. It's not important for any purpose outside of my human using it as a label
Yeah,
for these.
another construct.
So I was never allowed to get comfortable with that idea. And now looking back on it, I mean, I'm happy because I feel like it allowed me to have them interchange. And because if you get so used to a specific person being there with you in spirit, and that person drops off, or you have someone new come in, you're going to have attachment
Not the
because
codependency with the spirits.
there you go. You're going to have attachment.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, but it's the truth,
Yeah.
So allow yourself to stay open. When it comes to skilled practitioners, when it comes to their channel, please don't stop learning. Please don't stop educating yourself. Please don't stop pushing yourself to work through your human filters. Because we can see all the realities, and you as a skilled healer, as I am, we see all the filters and all of the realities that everyone plays in. But you can also see where hiccups happen with some really fantastic healers. And it's because they're stuck in an old paradigm. They're stuck in an old cycle, and they're not seeing how to push through it. They'll get really close to pushing through it, and then they'll stay where it's comfortable. And that may be in the guise of angel versus demon. That may be in the guise of dark versus light. That may be in one of those realities where you're a warrior, and everything is so wrong and we're here to fix it. Those exist, but
Mm-hmm.
we're not meant to stay there. And too many very skilled individuals will stay in that paradigm without recognizing that they're being called to let go of the hero's journey, because we're not here to be in the hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
We're not. We partake, we learn the lessons, we learn to integrate, we learn to grow, and then we understand that we're here for unity, for fulfillment, joys, happinesses as a unified one. So for skilled practitioners, my biggest advice is to challenge your limitations until there is none.
I love that because and it's okay, not that it's easier, but when you are a beginner or whatever, medium
Yeah.
it's a lot easier to learn because there's so much more 3D tangibility, and you can go on YouTube and learn all these different things. But when you hit a certain precipice point in the ethers and the cosmos, you got to go out and learn from different cosmic and etheric beings. Like there's only so much that you can learn on the human plane. You really got to get outside of the collective consciousness that we have here. You got
Yes,
to push yourself further.
you have to. Reliance on humans for spiritual information comes to a stop for all of us. And it's just trusting your own cues to then push those boundaries and push those limitations of the filters that you have so that you can then break through, because your information does need to come from your connection with the multiverses. That's where it needs to be coming from.
Yeah, and we love learning from humans. That's great,
Yeah.
fabulous, and everything.
Yeah.
But all humans have
Yeah.
filter lenses. I mean, spirit guides, and everybody has filter lenses. But the higher frequency you go up, the less filter lenses. Like we were talking
Yes.
about spirit guides. Like, what are you talking about with names? That's a
Mm-hmm.
construct. That's a way to confine y'all selves. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
you as an advanced healer need to be going and learning that esoteric knowledge and wisdom, but you're going to learn it from them.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. I love the fact that, we've got so many of us that are educating and are teaching, and you're going to get a different take from a lot of different people. And I think that's great. But at the end of the day, make sure that you're taking that information in and going, okay, this fits, this does not fit.
Mm-hmm.
This is good, this is not good. This resonates, this doesn't resonate, throw it out, and then go search for the missing pieces of that data within the fields. You'll find it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you think about advanced energy healers going to see other advanced energy healers? Whether that is a
We
positive or a negative. What do you think about that?
I think that we healers need healers. I think that we always need reflectors. So always having a support system in place to where we can get that data and that information reflected back at us. We are human and we are not perfect. We will have our limitations of being able to channel in all of our data clearly, especially if we're going through something or going through integration. The information that we're going to channel is going to be harder to grab when it's just us on our own, our own energy source. So I believe that we should all have that support system in place to be able to reflect back and assist whenever it's too hard to grab on our own.
Yeah, sometimes languaging gets really difficult when you're working up in those higher realms, and it really helps to, have a mirror outside of you talking about these things, and it helps you pull it down through a level which humans can understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then oftentimes when I'm doing tons of like sessions, same with you, right? You get this accumulation in your field that you are not able to get out by yourself. Like there's a limit and a reach to that. Like you need somebody that's on your level or above your level to clear that for you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, agree.
Yes. Okay, so what kind of sessions do you have, or what are your offerings look like if anybody wants to work with you?
So I have a soul's journey, and that is where I take people on a journey within their records. We will go where they have specified that they would like to go to retrieve that data and experience that. It's usually activations, books, keys, things of that nature. I offer that. So Akashic Soul's Journey, that is an offering. I offer uh, health and soul wellness. That is for anything affecting this life that you are currently residing in. That is inner child work, trauma, medical issues, physical trauma to the body, mental anguish, anything that's going on with the mind, body, and spirit as it uh, resides in the body for this lifetime. So I have that session, and then I have my whole trauma session, which is jumping timelines, going to past parallel incarnations, going off world, going to other multiverses, going into other systems, grabbing all of the soul fragments, DNA work, recoding, rewiring, the energetic body, because we do get energetic cords that just kink up or fry out as
Mhm.
well. So all of that would be in the trauma session, because that's deeper work. The surgeries that take place are deeper work.
Great. So Would you say that the first session that you offer is for maybe persons that have never worked with you before or still kind of working through a lot of things on their human 3D plane? Because we need to work on those things in order to get into these more advanced levels of self.
Mhm.
What would you suggest would be a good place for people to start with you or somebody that's a little deeper in their journey?
I would suggest that they start either with the health and soul wellness or the trauma healing,
Gotcha.
because again, they need to take some weight off in order to reach these other layers of consciousness. So I would suggest either that one that focuses on, the here and now life, or the trauma healing, which is deeper into the journey of understanding that we have those incarnations, we have off-world incarnations, and all of this affects, our human self.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because in order to understand your karmic rollover lessons or energetic cords that are mirroring the ones that you have here, and you want to clear that on a deep level within your Akasha field, first you got to understand what's going on here
Yep.
in this
Yep.
one in order to do the back work back there.
Yeah. You cannot skip it. You
Yes.
cannot pass go. And if you do, I'm telling you, you set yourself up for, and I'm just going to be honest, you set yourself up for psychosis.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
always great to be grounded here on this 3D plane first before we start going into
Yes. Yes.
yes. Do you have any classes or anything coming up as well?
I do. I just finished Energy Healing 1, and I'll be doing advanced in August. I'll be taking probably about 6 people, and I will teach them advanced skills in energy healing. So I do have that coming up, and then I'll do Energy Healing Level 1, Conscious Connection, where I just teach conscious connection with the energy that is always around you, spiritual hygiene, how to work on healing the body, the tools that Spirit has given me to work the way that I work. I teach them how to do the same thing.
Beautiful. Okay, so the advanced class that you have, is it a prerequisite that you take energy one, or is it for the advanced one, is that for all practitioners that are already practitioners?
It's for anyone that feels that they are ready. I will not turn you away, but it's going to be most beneficial to those that have an understanding of energy, have an understanding of consciousness, inner child, and shadow. So having that information would be very helpful, but it's not required. It's just you won't benefit as much as you could.
Right. Yeah, well, you gotta have the fundamentals.
Right.
Fundamentals are key. Okay.
Yes.
And I will say, as someone who has worked with Ashley numerous times in receiving sessions or just girls chat as well, that she's one of the most expansive healers I have ever met. And the yes, not that you need that, but for real though.
Oh,
Ashley is who I go see when I need support as a seasoned practitioner and channeler, because the reach that you have in the Akasha and in other places and spaces is infinite. Ashley can do it all.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Hey, we need each other to lean on.
Yeah, I mean, really, you really do. It's really important. That's why I wanted to really hone in on that earlier. It's really important to find peers or persons who are above you in consciousness in order for you to continue growing.
100%.
Yeah,
Couldn't
whether
agree
that's
more.
humans or aliens.
Yep.
Okay.
Go get your friends.
Yeah. So where can everybody find you on social medias or your website?
So my website is www.soulsacredlight.com. You can find me there. You can find my bookings there. I am always on TikTok as well. I do collective healings and I do minis. So you can find me at Ashley in This Life or Soul Sacred Light. It will pull on both if you put it into the search engine. It's the same for YouTube, IG, and for Facebook, it's Soul Sacred Light Healing and Expansion, my business page. That is where I can be found if you are interested.
Beautiful. And I will put all of Ashley's information under this video as well. And then y'all can always reach out to me too if you need a direct line to Ashley. So, yes. Okay, Ashley, I want to thank you so much. This was such a fun chat and loved your perspectives and your understandings. And I think it was fundamentally key in channeling all the things that you were saying. So I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too, and I loved it. I loved doing this for your class, and I always love when we sit and have our chats. So I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. We'll do it again in the future.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds
Thank
good.
y'all. Thank y'all. Bye.